The 8515 conveyor paver manufactured by LeeBoy is designed to lay asphalt up to a thickness of 6 inches for newly paved parking areas and secondary roads, or to repair older roads and parking lots. The paver is equipped with electric over hydraulic and manual thickness controls, 2 operation stations, and an 8 to 15 foot wide screed. The paver features a propane or electric heated floating screed and 2 42-inch hydraulically operated extensions. The screed is equipped with 2 hydraulic vibrators, which can produce 3,500 vibrations per minute, and a variable crown system which can be placed in the leading or trailing edge, and can create negative or positive crown on the pavement being laid. Correct maintenance and servicing are critically important for proper, safe operation of the machine and to prolong its useful life. Safe operation of the 8515 paver requires heightened alertness, as it is the operator's responsibility to safeguard the workers walking alongside the machine. For safety reasons, we recommend operation by 2 people. When the machine is being operated from the right-hand side, a second operator should be in the left-hand seat, directing the truck, looking for power lines, checking for people getting between the hopper and the truck, or any other potentially dangerous situations. Before operation, it is important to perform required checks and inspections. Before you perform these procedures, it is necessary to be familiar with all of the operations, servicing, and parts by referring to the Operator and Parts Manual for the paver. It is also critical to read and follow all of the danger, warning, and caution decals posted on the machine. Become familiar with all of the pinch points on the machine and the safe operation of the controls. We'll discuss more specific operations and safety issues later in the program. Refer to the maintenance manual for recommended maintenance intervals. Some procedures should be performed daily, while others are to be performed weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Daily maintenance. Cleaning the paver at the end of each working day is extremely important and is critical to keep long-term maintenance costs to a minimum. Any parts that come in contact with the asphalt, such as the screed plate, augers, the conveyor, and the hopper, should be sprayed before you start work and at the end of the day to prevent buildup of the asphalt, which can cause increasing maintenance problems. In cold weather, keep the conveyor flight chains properly lubricated to keep the conveyor bars from sticking. The fuel tank should be refilled at the end of the day to keep condensation from forming in the tank. Also, check the engine and hydraulic oils and replenish if needed. Lubricate the thickness depth control screws and the extension slides at these critical points with grease to keep all of the parts working smoothly. Weekly maintenance. At the beginning of each work week, perform weekly checks and maintenance as described in the maintenance manual. Begin by checking the hydraulic fluid level. To do this, open the petcock several turns and check to see if oil runs out. If no oil runs out, the tank needs refilling. To fill the tank, remove the cap on the left side of the unit and fill the tank as specified in the manual. Check the conveyor drive chains on the side of the machine while the conveyors are turning. If the drive chain has excessive loose motion in it, loosen the jam nuts on the chain adjusters. Turn the adjusters until the whip in the chain is eliminated. Make sure not to over-tighten the chains, leaving approximately a 1/4 inch of slack in the chain. Check the manual for locations of all of the grease points on the paver. The grease points should be lubricated with a grease gun filled with an approved lubricant during periodic or hourly maintenance as described in the manual. Pay particular attention to the fittings that require daily greasing. These include the auger grease fitting on the end mounts. Other fittings must also be greased weekly, including the depth screw in both the locked and unlocked positions, the main flight screw bearings, all screws on the extension, the tubes at the rod extensions, the tilt screws, the Screed pivot, and the slope cylinder pivot. Check the air cleaners by removing the cover and removing the filters. Replacing dirty filter elements is an important maintenance step because even the smallest amount of dirt can quickly cause engine wear. The filters should be replaced every 250 hours. After checking or replacement, replace the filter cover. Finally, check the auger motor chains to make sure they are snug and not loose. If the chains require tightening, loosen the jam nut on the bolt under the auger motor. Loosen the 2 bolts in the slots of the motor mounts. Screw the bolt adjuster in or out and it will push the motor up to tighten the chain. Once the chain is tight, with approximately 1/4 inch of play in it, lock down the jam nut. Grease all of the fittings on the auger at this time. All checks and adjustments should be performed with the unit not running. Monthly maintenance. The engine oil should be changed following the recommendations by the engine manufacturer. To drain the oil, first warm the engine. Then remove the access cover, install the supplied hose and fitting, and allow the oil to drain into a bucket. When the oil is drained, remove the hose and fitting, fill the crankcase with oil as recommended in the manual, and replace the access panel. The oil and fuel filters should be replaced at every oil change. Refer to the manual for proper oils. Start the engine and remove the 4 bolts from the hopper wings on both sides. Manually fold out the wings and raise the hopper deck to access the underside of the conveyor hopper. Once the hopper deck is up, raise the safety prop to hold the deck in the up position, and then turn the engine off. When all servicing under the conveyor deck is complete, lower the prop, start the engine, and lower the deck to the stop or flat position with the switch on the operator's dash. Manually fold in the hopper wings and reinstall the 4 bolts on each side. Never operate the paver without the bolts installed and tightened. Pre-operation check. Before startup, check the engine oil, remove the oil dipstick, wipe it clean, reinsert it, and look at the level indication. The oil must be within the fill lines on the dipstick. Next, check the hydraulic oil level by loosening the petcock several turns. If no oil drains out, filling is required. After filling, retighten the petcock. Check the fuel supply by opening the fuel cap and checking the visible level. The fuel level can also be checked by looking at the fuel gauge on the dash. Before startup, inspect the machine for any malfunctioning, missing, or broken parts and perform any necessary repair. Check the hydraulic hoses for wear and leaks and replace them if necessary. Check the propane tank to make sure it's full. Before starting the engine, clear the auger and the feeders and make sure all covers and guards are in place. Startup procedures. Make sure the joystick is in the neutral position. Insert the key into the ignition and turn it to start. When the engine is running, throttle back to idle by pressing and holding either throttle switch on the dash panel in the down position until idle speed is reached. Allow the engine to warm up longer before moving the paver in cold weather. Never move one throttle switch up and one down simultaneously. This will blow the throttle switch fuse. To stop the engine, throttle back to idle by pressing and holding either throttle switch in the down position until idle speed is reached, and then turn the ignition key off. Operation procedures. When all of the required checks have been properly performed and all necessary safety precautions have been taken, the 8515 paver is ready for field operation. Heating the screed helps prevent hot mix from sticking to the cold screed plate and produces a smooth, tight, matte surface. Heating should be performed at the beginning of a job and if the paver is idle for a long enough period of time between loads to allow the screed to cool. If you are paving on a cool day, it may be necessary to maintain a low heat level on the screed throughout the operation. The 8515 is available in 2 heater configurations, propane gas and electric. To maintain heat level for the gas system, the pressure on the propane tank should be at 15 pounds. If you are paving on a cool day, it may be necessary to maintain a low heat level on the screed throughout the operation. On cold days, to maintain screed heat, leave the burners on and turn the propane regulator to 2 pounds. Lighting the burners to heat the screed requires extreme caution, as propane gas is volatile and combustible. Before lighting, make sure all of the burner valves are turned off. Then turn the valve on and use a flame source to light the main burners. Repeat this procedure for the opposite side. When the main burners are lit, use the igniters for each side to ignite the right and left extension burners. After the screed has heated for approximately 15 minutes, turn the burners off by closing the bottle valve on the tank and then closing the burner gas valves. For pavers equipped with electric screed heaters, the generator on-off switch activates screed heat and must be turned on with the engine at 3/4 throttle. The generator will operate and heat the screed for 30 minutes after the button is pushed. It may be reset at any time for 30 additional minutes. Also, the electric screed has slope control. The switch tilts the screed extension up or down on both the left and right sides for shoulder and driveway approaches, and eliminates handwork. Notice the rod indicators on each side for reference. Inner adjustments make matte texture adjustments by tilting the wear plate. Outer adjustments will raise or lower the wear plate to remove lines or shadows, and will increase matte quality. A gauge is located on each side of the paver that provides a convenient reference for the operator to determine the location of the toe point screws. Before paving, the operator should position the gauge to 0. While paving, the operator can make adjustments to the screed using the toe point adjustment. The grade switches on the on and the joystick forward with the engine running for the toe point adjustments to work. The cutoff gates provide another extremely important function for the paver. The cutoffs are used to control the flow of asphalt to the screed. They can be used when making narrow passes and at the beginning and end of each pass or pull. The cutoffs are controlled by the left and right open-close cutoff switches on the dash. Positioning the switches to open increases the flow of asphalt to the screed, and positioning them to close decreases the flow. Work the cutoff switches one at a time. When loading the machine for transport, make sure the cutoffs are completely closed. Sonic augers are located at the top of the paver's left and right end gates. The knob located on the side of the steering box controls the height of materials feeding the screed extensions. Keep the material in the area full but not overflowing. Always place the sonic sensor on the end gate with the cord forward and out of harm's way. If the sensor cord is turned the wrong way, damage to the sensor and cord can occur when closing the extension. The sensor cord and connector will hit the screed arm. Note the 12-inch augers feeding the extensions. Augers can be controlled with automatic sensors or manually controlled by the operators from 3 locations: operator panel right, operator panel left, or right and left lower control boxes. The console is adjustable for either high or low deck operation. The right and left seats may also be placed in high or low deck positions. High deck operation allows the operator to see from a higher position. Low deck operation allows the operator to run the screw. This allows for a 2-man crew instead of a 3-man crew. Seats may be removed and the machine operated from a standing position. The walkboard at the rear of the screed is extendable for use when the screed extension is out. The steering box contains the wheel, drive joystick, and run stop switch. The drive joystick must be in neutral to start the paver's engine. The joystick controls forward and reverse direction, along with speed. Neutral is stop. The steering wheel controls right or left direction. The run stop switch will stop travel and then will resume the same speed when switched to run. The steering switch on the console will determine whether the right or left steering box is active. Only one box can be active. The thick-thinner switch controls the toe point cylinder. The grade switch turns the electric screws on and off. Both sides need to be on, and the joystick must be in the forward position for this function to work. The left and right conveyor switches control the conveyor chains in auto or manual modes. The Screed float switch controls the raising and lowering of the screed. This switch must be run from one side of the paver with the other switch in the middle position. The throttle switch can be run from either side of the paver to raise or lower the speed of the engine. The left extension in and out switch controls the left extension in-out movement. The right extension in and out switch controls the extension in and out movement on the right. The left cutoff gate switch opens and closes the left cutoff gate and can control the function from either side of the paver. The right cutoff gate switch opens and closes the right cutoff gate and can also control the function from either side of the paver. The side wing in and out switch can be run from either side of the paver and allows for 10-foot width. It opens and closes to move material to the conveyors and for transport. The conveyor raise-lower switch is used to raise the hopper deck. The wings must be out and the bolts must be removed with the engine running to raise or lower the conveyor bed. The electric spray down is used to spray cleaning solvent on any part of the machine that comes in contact with asphalt. To use the spray down, unroll the hose and set the spray down switch to on, and then squeeze the handle and spray. After spraying, turn the switch off and rewind the hose and the sprayer into its stowed position. When spraying with the solution, always be sensitive to the environment. The sonic augers gauge the amount of material that is in the extensions. They are used when paving 9 feet or wider, where augers are capable of running material over the top of the end gates, creating the need for extra handwork. To operate the sonic augers automatically, the left and right auger switches on the left side of the dash must be in the automatic position, while the switches on the right side of the dash must be in the slave position. In addition, the left and right auger switches on the remote screed boxes must be set to the on position. An operator can operate both the augers and conveyor from either side of the operator's console as described in the operator's manual. Keep the extension full, making sure you don't overrun the extension with the material, or it can spill around the front of the end gate. To operate the sonic augers manually, the left and right auger switches on the left side of the dash must be in the manual position, while the switches on the right side of the dash must be in the slave position. In addition, the left and right auger switches on the remote screed boxes must be set to the on position. In the manual position, the switches can be turned on or off as required. You can still turn them on or off from either location, screed or the operator's position, left or right. The guide bars located on the paver are used to make a straight pass by following a string line or curb. Have a second person adjust the guide while the operator sights its position. To set the screed for paving, move to your starting position and set the screed to the desired width. To set the depth of the screed, place the screed on starter blocks and level the screed until neutral position is felt. This can be determined by noticing that the pressure on the flight screw is the same when turning the screw either clockwise or counterclockwise. Set the screed toggle switch to the float position, which will remove the hydraulic pressure from the cylinders. Turn the flight screw approximately 1 complete turn clockwise. To obtain the desired crown or valley, loosen the slope beam bolt on the right side of the screed. Use the crown adjuster handle, pushing down for crown and up for valley. Once a crown or valley adjustment is made, tighten the slope beam bolt. On the first pass, unlock the depth screws and lower the end gates to approximately 1/4 inch of desired depth. This should provide a nice square edge on the asphalt. The scale located on each end gate will show the proper setting or depth. When all of the checks, setups, and maintenance actions described in this video and in the service manual have been performed, the LeeBoy 8515 paver is ready for safe field operation. These procedures, properly performed on a regular and timely schedule, will result in long and trouble-free operation in all field conditions.